Hi, I'm Sarah. Before I share my story, please like and subscribe so you can hear how I handled one of the hardest nights of my life. A night that changed everything. Thank you for watching. I was at a party at Mrs. Whitmore's beautiful home. The chandelier lights made the fine china on the table shine, and I thought it would be a happy family dinner. I was excited to announce that I had just been promoted at work. A big step in my marketing career. I fixed my dress, took a deep breath, and got ready to share the news, expecting cheers and smiles. When the appetizers arrived, I leaned toward my husband Tom and whispered, "I have great news." He nodded, urging me on. Then I told everyone I was promoted to senior marketing director. Instead of celebration, there was silence. Mrs. Mo frowned and whispered to Tom, "Is that really what you wanted, to be in the shadow of your wife's career?" Tom, who had always supported me, seemed to shrink under his mother's look. His smile faded, and he pulled his hand away from mine under the table. I tried to save the moment by saying, "This is a great opportunity for us because the raise is a lot." But Mrs. Whitmore interrupted, asking in a disapproving tone, "What about starting a family, Sarah? Do you think money can replace the joy of having children?" Then Tom added with a cold tone, "Yeah, Sarah, when are you going to settle down a bit? Your career isn't everything." I felt hurt, not just by his words, but by the betrayal in his voice. "I thought you were proud of me," I said, my voice shaking. Even though the main course was served and the conversation turned to other things, the tension stayed, just like the simmering pot roast. Tom grew more distant and angry, his expression matching his mother's disapproval. When dessert came, Tom suddenly stood up and threw his napkin on the table. "You should know your place, Sarah. You're my wife, not my competitor," he shouted. My heart pounded as I stood up. "Being your wife does not mean I have to give up my dreams." "I deserve respect," I replied. Then, in a moment that still haunts me, Tom hit me across the face. The loud crack made everything go quiet. Everyone stared in shock. Without saying a word, I turned my chair, the sound scraping on the wooden floor, and walked to the foyer, thinking quickly. The sound of my heels on the floor marked my escape. I grabbed my purse and left, closing the door behind me. That door click marked the end of one part of my life and the start of a new, scary chapter. At that moment, I knew my marriage was over. I had to leave to find a place where my ambitions were accepted. As I drove away and saw the house shrink in the mirror, I felt a mix of fear and relief. I was alone, but finally free. I was starting a new journey, ready to see what would come next. The next morning, I woke up in my small, sunny apartment, feeling like I was starting a new life. The events of the previous night felt both far away and very fresh. My phone buzzed with messages from friends who were worried. I ignored those and made one important call to a divorce attorney. "I need to file for divorce," I said firmly. "It's urgent." The attorney replied, "I understand. I'll prepare the paperwork. Can you come in this afternoon?" "Yes, I'll be there," I responded. After hanging up, I felt a small victory. There was no turning back. At work, I tried to act normal, even though my mind was full of thoughts. My boss, Mr. Daniels, noticed something was wrong. "No, Sarah, I'm dealing with personal issues, but I'll manage." When I offered help, he said, "No, I'd rather stay busy. Thanks," and nodded. Later, my friend Jenna asked, "Are you okay after last night?" I replied, "It's been hard, but I'll get through it. If you ever need a place to stay or just someone to talk to, my door is open." Jenna smiled, saying, "Thanks, Sarah. Drinks after work, my treat." That evening, while having drinks with Jenna, I talked about everything. Even though my marriage was falling apart, I found comfort in laughing and spending time with a friend, even for a short while. Back at my apartment, I saw several missed calls from Tom. I thought about calling him back but decided not to. Instead, I texted, "I filed for divorce. Please give me space." Tom replied right away, "Can we talk about this, please?" Before he could continue, I texted back, "I need space. Good night." I felt many emotions: sadness, relief, anger. But most of all, I felt determined. I was free now, or at least on the way to freedom. Looking around my small, comfortable apartment, I felt at peace. This was my space, my safe place where no one could hurt me. I thought about Tom and how his own choices, influenced by his mother's bad opinions, had led him here. He had pushed away the person who always supported him. It was sad, but it was no longer my problem. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized I was no longer just surviving, I was ready to live. Tomorrow I would be stronger, and the day after, even more so. It was the beginning of a new journey, and I was ready for whatever came next. As my career took off, I became involved in big marketing projects. I met important people in the industry, hosted webinars, and led workshops that showed my skills and leadership. One busy Monday morning, while looking at campaign ideas, my phone rang. It was Lisa, a respected industry contact. "Sarah, I heard about your situation, and I'm sorry you went through that," Lisa said kindly. "Thanks, Lisa. It's been hard, but I'm managing. I have an opening for a conference speaker next month on resilience and leadership. I think your experience will really connect with people." "What do you think?" she asked. I was surprised but excited by the opportunity. "I'd be honored, Lisa." "Thank you," I replied. As I grew in my career, people began talking about Tom's behavior. I overheard a conversation at a meeting. "He's looking for work again after what he did to Sarah." "Who would hire him?" Another person agreed. Tom struggled at his job. He even tried to contact me a few times, saying he wanted help repairing his image. One afternoon, I got a text from him asking, "Can we meet? I need your help." I agreed to a short coffee meeting, though I wasn't sure it was a good idea. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I was wrong," he said quietly. "I've lost so much. I can't find work anywhere. All doors are closed." I replied, "Tom, you made choices that have brought you here. But if you help clear your name, it might make a difference in how people see both of us." Leaving the cafe, I felt both sorry for him and determined. Tom was finally facing the results of his choices. Back at work, I focused on my projects with more energy, determined to use my experiences to help others. I learned that sometimes hard personal times can lead to big professional successes. I knew I had chosen the right path for myself, a path true to my values and vision. After finalizing my divorce, I felt a deep sense of relief. My new chapter was not just about moving on. It was about using what I'd learned to power my future. At work, my role grew even more. I started a mentorship program for young women in marketing, inspired by my own journey. In one of these sessions, an intern named Ava, full of ambition, asked Sarah, "How do you handle criticism from people who say you don't belong?" I smiled and said, "Listen, learn, and let your work speak for itself. Don't let anyone's doubt control you. Use that doubt as motivation." Ava nodded and wrote down my advice. "And what if it's really tough?" she asked. "Then reach out to your network, find mentors, and never be afraid to ask for help. We're stronger when we support each other," I said. Besides the mentorship program, my social life grew too. I was often invited to speak at events and social gatherings where I shared my journey. At one networking dinner, a former colleague, Direk, approached me and said, "Sarah, your talk was inspiring. How do you keep going after everything?" I replied, "I refuse to let my past define my future. Every challenge makes me stronger." Our conversation then turned into a discussion about working together. "Have you ever thought about writing a book? Your story could inspire many," Derek suggested. By the end of the night, I had exchanged contact details with a publisher. It felt like every conversation opened a new door, proof of how far I had come. As I continued to grow both personally and professionally, my confidence soared. I hosted workshops, led big marketing campaigns, and became a respected voice for strength and empowerment. Every speaking event and workshop not only allowed me to share my knowledge but also helped me heal, turning pain into lessons for others. After a long day of events, I lay in bed thinking about how much my life had changed. I was no longer the woman who sat at that dinner feeling hopeless. I was now a leader, a mentor, and a survivor who had turned her struggles into wins. This was not just a new start, it was an exciting continuation of a journey that I was proud to own. Months later, the memories of Tom started fading, replaced by the vibrant life I was building. One afternoon at a coffee meetup with a friend named Melissa, the topic of Tom came up again. "Sarah, Tom's been asking about you," Melissa said carefully. "He's really struggling and says he regrets everything." I sipped my coffee and replied, "People often regret their actions when they face the results. He wants to talk and maybe apologize." Melissa said, "He's here, Sarah." I responded firmly, "I appreciate you telling me, but that part of my life is over. I've moved on." Melissa nodded and we changed the subject. Even though Tom continued to call and send messages, I stayed firm and did not respond, not out of anger, but because I needed to take care of myself. I had learned the importance of setting boundaries and respecting myself. Over the following months, my work life blossomed. I spoke at conferences, led creative marketing campaigns, and watched my mentorship program grow. Sharing my story on different platforms and workshops helped many people who were dealing with their own struggles. One evening, I looked back on the past year and realized just how much I had changed. I was no longer surviving, I was thriving. I had turned my pain into power and was living a life based on my own values and vision. As I closed my journal, filled with new ideas and plans, I felt deeply at peace. My past with Tom had pushed me to become stronger, and my success was not about his failure, but about my own growth. Now, I'd love to know what you think. Was I right to cut Tom out of my life completely? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed my story, please like and subscribe for more.